Welcome to my Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. Join Larissa and Malerie as they explore biohacking tips for women based on the latest science and research available today. Let them help you unlock your best self. It's time to hack smarter, not harder, together.
Hello, ladies. We are here to talk about a new topic for me, and that is creatine. And I always associated it with bodybuilders, but the research shows, science shows that it's actually more beneficial for women, or I would say more beneficial for women, but it's as beneficial for women in totally different ways. Right. So that's exciting. So today we are going to go over the what is creatine, why women need it, the myths behind creatine for women, the health benefits, and practical ways to use creatine in our everyday lives.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
creatine is interesting because I always associated it with like weightlifting and bodybuilding too, or with men in general, right? Like it just didn't seem like it was anything that I should be interested in. And what was that?
Because you're not a guy, you're not a man.
Yeah, I'm not a dude. I don't live in the gym, I'm not in a bodybuilding competition, so. But turns out that's all wrong because what creatine does is, so there's things in our body called ATP, and it's basically how our body produces energy in our cells. Like this is at the cell level. And it's for kind of like high intensity tasks, like you need a sprint or you need to, save a baby from under a car or something. I don't know. Then you use ATP, but you don't store very much, right? And so what creatine does is basically think of it like, you have your phone and it has its battery life and you need just a little bit extra juice because you're going on a cool adventure that day. And so you just put a battery pack on your phone, right? They have those kind that you can just stick on the back now, which is super cool. That's basically what creatine's like. It's just that little bit of extra battery power that your body needs for energy, or it doesn't need it, but it definitely benefits from that extra boost of energy when it needs just a little bit extra battery life. So, it's a fascinating thing. And I think that as far as ATP goes, women have like 70 to 80% of what men have. And that's where we say that really women can benefit a lot from taking creatine because we just don't store as much as men do. And so, taking creatine for us has proven to have so many benefits.
So, so you said that 70 to 80% of women do not store creatine. What?
Oh, so like where a man, like if you were to compare men versus women, women only have 70 to 80% of what men typically have.
Oh, I got
right. You. So there's a 20 to 30% deficit for women.
So that's where supplementing would come in to help offset.
Exactly.
That.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And especially when you talk about the different phases of life, right, that we go through, like menstruating women versus perimenopause and menopause, like creatine can play a huge role in counteracting a lot of the negative effects of aging, right? So it has a huge longevity potential for us, which we can, go into.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your 20s and 30s, it's more about like building like strength and performance and recovering, reducing fatigue. And sports medicine in 2020 showed that women using creatine gained 2 to 4 pounds of lean muscle over 8 weeks without bulking. So it helps get the right muscle too, not just bulky. Like it helps get the lean muscle, which is then when you carry on into perimenopause, you lose, your hormones shift, you start losing your estrogen. And then the first thing that you start to lose is your lean muscle. And then which impacts the bone density and all that. So that's what starts in the perimenopause, which is why they recommend taking creatine and weight training together in your 30s and 40s, and then 50s and beyond, you're thriving in the sense that you're taking creatine to enhance cognitive, not strength, but mind hydration. I don't know, what word would I say?
Yeah, that's a good, it helps, because what creatine does is it pulls more water into your muscles and into your, and it also does pull more water into your brain, which just helps it function better, right?
Yeah.
And so hydration would probably be a good word.
Yeah, so it hydrates your brain, and so it helps you with your cognitive, your mental fatigue, maintaining your lean muscle, and
Mm-hmm.
adding like age-related muscle loss, which is we're all going through. It's well, not you, me, and above, and and there's a gerontologist study that linked creatine to 10% of better memory in older women. So that was exciting because I already feel the brain fog. So I feel like every biohack I can get to help me improve my mental state of mind is a win for me.
Yeah, the brain fog's real. Like it's a real thing. And there's so many different things I feel like that can be the cause of it,
Yeah.
that it's a little bit of detective work to kind of figure out what's going on. But again, anything we can collect that helps us combat these things is amazing. So I do know that I think one of the big things for when you get into your 50s and beyond is the reduction in your production of the words like right there, estrogen. Oh my gosh, like it's right there. So you don't produce as much estrogen, which is a huge protective hormone, especially for your body, and so creatine can really help there as well. That's why it helps so much. Is it's a protective. I don't know that if it's. I think it's an amino acid is technically what creatine is,
Mhm.
and anyway, it's fascinating. The science has been very interesting to research.
Where do you get creatine from naturally?
So it's in our food, like meat, fish, eggs. Like it's in various things, but in very small amounts. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like you collect it over time. And I think that that's why supplementing with it can be so powerful because you can just get the straight creatine in higher doses versus if you have a low nutrition day, right? You're just busy, you're grabbing stuff on the go. Like you can get into a deficit because they really do to say that it kind of builds up in your system over weeks. And so if you're not consistent, you're not going to have consistent results, right?
Yeah. Which
So,
consistency is definitely one of those things that I'm not very good at. So that's where doing like, the atomic habits, like stacking habits, and tracking it
yep.
would be beneficial for me on this one so that I
Oh,
could,
yeah.
keep track of it, build it up. And then not only it will help me keep consistent with it, but it would also help me notice the benefits. Like, how did I feel? Did I see a significant increase in my mood? Did I see a significant increase in my brain fog and muscle stamina?
Well, that is the thing is really for people who are athletes, it's hugely beneficial because it really does. It's supposed to make your workouts easier, more effective, and feel better afterwards, right? Like it's just got all of the good benefits for muscle building, muscle repair. Like if you get a tear or a strained muscle, it's supposed to help you heal faster. Like the benefits are just endless. Um, and so, but it still is applicable to people who are not in the gym all the time, right? Because when you're just doing regular stuff, you're getting your Halloween stuff out of storage. You got to lift something up, take something down, right? There's stuff that you're doing. And I feel like even in my like late 20s, I'm like pulling muscles and I'm like, what is happening? Like, I am not old. Like, why? I pulled a muscle doing nothing, And so it's stuff like that that is even in everyday life. Like, we really, the healthier we are, the more, something like this helps. So,
I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Stacy Sims, and she was saying how
Stacy Sims, which podcast episode were you listening to? Because she's done quite a few.
she has done quite a few, but there was a point that I was trying to make that she said, what were you literally just talking about?
We were talking about using, like, even people who don't go to the gym can
Oh,
benefit from creatine.
okay, it's all coming back to me. But
There we go.
so, but Dr. Stacy Sims was saying she was on the Huberman Lab and she was on the Mel Robbins show. She's actually quite famous and she has her own website and all that stuff. We'll link all of that in the notes.
I
But
love
she
her.
was saying how the research was saying that even women who took creatine and didn't work out still had benefits. And then if you took creatine and you did weight resistant with it, the benefits like quadrupled. It totally elevated the benefits of creatine. And then you have to make sure you stay hydrated, because the water is what's going to move all of it around inside your brain and different parts of your muscles and stuff. But I thought that was
Yep.
interesting. I always associated it, especially after listening to the Hubbard Lab one. It was much
Oh,
more of
yeah.
the athlete women, and
The
I am not an
Huberman
athlete.
Lab. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
human. I'm not an athlete, so I was like, this might not relate to me. This might not like be meant for me. But then when I
Yeah.
listened to Mel Robbins podcast, like she dumbed it down, or not dumbed it down. She made it more simple for the beginner. And so
Yes.
I was like, okay, I can do this. And so then it kind of gave me more power and knowledge in believing in myself that I could start creatine and what the benefits are even for myself. So it
And then
was
you can
just,
start resistance training, right? Like
yes.
that's what's fascinating is she talks about, because I went on and read her articles on her website after listening to the Huberman Lab podcast episode, because she kept talking about high intensity interval training, but not in the way that women typically do it. And then also about the sprint interval training. And I was like, what are these? Because I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to work out, I would really like to do the most effective thing. I want to spend the least amount of time. Yes, that's it. So, anyway, I went on and I looked, and I think I'm going to try the way that she talks about. It's very intense interval training, and then the sprint interval training, and then in addition to that, lifting weights. And really, it's funny because I always went to the gym to look good, right?
Mhm.
That's why I went to the gym. And now I'm like, I go to the gym because I want to feel good for the rest of my life, right? It's just a very different approach. But I think that that's my approach to a lot of these biohacking things too, is it's just you take your youth for granted. And then when you realize it's slipping through your fingers, you have to start to do things to feel that way again, right? So
Yeah.
creatine is one of those things for me.
Well, it's a great health hack, right? It's a great hack that makes you can intervene. You can do an intervention on yourself and be like, I see I'm losing muscle mass, like lean muscle. Let me be proactive about it, or
Yep.
memory fog, or whatever it is, and let me tweak it and see if it makes a difference.
Exactly. So I do love listening to these things, and I love Stacy Sims, and she has given us a lot of information on creatine, so that's been nice. There are a few myths I know that we wanted to cover because I know the number one thing that I always heard about this kind of stuff that's like bodybuilder stuff, like creatine, was that it's going to make you too bulky, right?
Yeah, well, because that's the first thing that pops in your mind is big, bulky, like bodybuilders.
Yes, yep. And so the interesting thing is it's completely not true. First of all, like it's incredibly hard to look that bulky, let's be honest. That is a very difficult thing to accomplish. And so you're not going to just accidentally do that by taking creatine. It does pull water into your muscles, which will actually, that's a better look. Like if you're going to retain water anywhere, you want to retain it in your muscles versus everywhere else, and then you just look puffy, right? I hate looking puffy, and creatine does not do that, but it also does not make you look giant and bulky. So myth busted there for sure.
Another bust, another bust. Maybe not. Another myth that we want to bust is that creatine is unsafe supplement to use. And it's like one of the most highly, I think there's been like 65,000 research
Papers?
articles
Yeah.
and papers and studies done on creatine. So it's highly, highly safe, especially the creatine monohydrate one that we're talking about. That's the most common one. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is very, very, very safe to use. And as with anything, always consult your doctor, especially if you have pre existing conditions. Always consult them. But for most women, it will be very safe for you to try and it will benefit your life, hydrating your brain.
It really does. And it's funny because I didn't take creatine very seriously until I did my lab work with Ways to Well. And I was talking to the doctor about, at the end of like running through my lab results and everything, then they talk through, okay, based on this is what we recommend for you. What are your goals, right? And mine was like optimal health, build muscle, things like that. So they were like, you need to be taking creatine every day. And I was like, oh, okay, I should actually pay attention to this. And then that's when you and I decided we should research it and talk about it, because I really just think that with all of the new
Awareness.
research coming out on women, we're just learning so many new things. And this was one of those, and it's hugely beneficial. So,
If you don't mind me asking, how much did they tell you to take on Wake the Well?
so how much did they tell me to take? I think they told me to take 5 grams a day, I want to say. I know that the safe recommendation is between 3 and 5 is usually where they want women to sit. But I've heard, cases for taking more, and especially if you're like traveling or sleep deprived, right? So it's just kind of something that it's worth doing your own research, but that is a safe bet.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Let's see, what's our third myth? It's only for athletes, which I feel like we've talked about this a little bit already. It's not. Like, there's so many other applicable things that it can help, right? And in your day-to-day life, honestly, just feeling better doing the things that you want to be doing versus feeling like you need to be in a gym if that's not where you want to be, like, this can still be helpful. So I think that.
And I like going back to Dr. Stacy Sims. She went back. She's like, you don't have to go to the gym to, get the benefit of weight resistance. You can work out at home. You can do sit-ups and squats and various things like that. So I do like that she addressed that you don't necessarily have to go to a gym to get the benefits of working out.
Yeah, that's true. I work out at home, so.
I did too. Gym's not my jam.
Yeah, me neither. I do feel like I might want to stir things up and get a gym membership for a while, every once in a while, and then I think about having to wipe down the equipment every time I use it, and I change my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna pass. And I think about all the viruses in the holiday season.
I don't even think about any of that, but I do think about, it's like, where am I going to fit it into my daily life? So I was like,
yeah,
that's where it's like overwhelming to me.
Yeah, if you even have to put 20 minutes of drive time in, right? That just, you don't have that much wiggle room. I don't have that much wiggle room, I know. Because I used to go and get up in the morning and go to Pilates, like to a Pilates studio with the reformers and everything, and it was my favorite thing. I loved it, but the only time I could make it was 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And when you have a baby who, if anything goes wrong, a sleep regression, sick, anything, doesn't sleep, I couldn't consistently make it to classes for it to be worth the cost. So yeah, I had to give that up, which I'm sad about, but that's life.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to creatine. Creatine, the benefits of creatine. What is your first go-to, Malerie?
I would definitely say muscle building and recovery. Obviously, that's very big. I mean, I think about some of the challenges of working out, and I remember the times that I took pre-workout and times that I didn't, and utilizing creatine as a pre-workout is supposed to be hugely beneficial, and that's what I would like to try.
But it doesn't matter when you take creatine, whether it's before or after workout, right? As long as it's saturating. Yeah, I don't think it matters, because you're saturating your brain as long as you consistently have your brain. Not your brain. I always go back to the brain. Your cells.
Right.
Your muscle cells saturated with creatine, then it doesn't necessarily matter when you take it.
Right. And you take it over time, right? It saturates more and more over time. So if you're consistently taking it, I was just thinking more in terms of habit stacking, right? And making sure I get it is the key, because as we talked about with the Atomic Habits, right? Like anytime I'm adding in something new, I'm like, okay, when am I going to tag it on to so that I always remember? And so then it's like
to a workout, then you know that you'll take it before the workout.
If I have a concept of a pre-workout, because when I worked out with a trainer, one of my best times, I actually, for Christmas got a personal trainer for like 3 months or something, and he had me actually take pre-workout, but it was like BCAAs and caffeine, this whole concoction, which I loved, but it actually made a huge difference in working out. The times that I took it and not, I actually was able to lift heavier and it felt better. Like I didn't have a lot of the muscles screaming at me. So I do wonder what else was in that, but it's the same concept in my mind, right? That it's like if I'm taking creatine and I want to actually build muscle, like that's the first thing that I come to for health benefits. So, but there's so many more too, right? Like you've got your cognitive boost. It really helps with mood and hormonal health and your energy. And then of course the longevity indicators, which we can talk about.
I read this study that like 56% of women who take creatine consistently, depression symptoms went down. That's huge.
Yeah, it has big
That's
indicators for depression.
Yeah, I did not associate it with that. I was shocked to read that.
I really wonder if I would have learned about that when I was really having a hard time with postpartum depression, if it would have helped. Like that could have been something that could have helped with that too, because it helps with hormonal health. And there's a lot of things going on right after you have a baby that this could have been something that helped me had I known about it back then.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
Yeah.
I do love that.
That was like a bonus. I was like, ooh, this is something I did not know.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really love the longevity stuff too. Like over time, preventing muscle and bone loss. That's huge. That's a huge benefit.
Well, and I like that, again, going back to Dr. Stacy Sims, where she says that you really have to build it up in your 30s and 40s to really like hit it heavy so you can go into menopause strong, because you will automatically lose muscle during that phase anyway. So I like that it gave you a powerhouse. Like, this is what you need to do in your 30s and 40s, build it up so then you can have a smoother sail through menopause.
Yeah, it's a huge hormonal shift in menopause. So that totally makes sense that the better prepared you can be, the better you're going to come out.
Yeah. And then it's something you can continually do after menopause, and it just helps with your longevity and keeping everything alert and aware.
Well, and they are finding that if you have bone loss, you can build it back. It's not a permanent loss. There are things that you can do. It's slower and it's harder, but you can build it back. And so that's something new that, again, I think Dr. Stacy Sims was talking about. And so I love that lady, man. She's got this stuff figured out. She's at the front of the research and we read about her all the time.
Yeah, it's just so many articles. And there's a lot of other doctors that are just as good. I just liked her because she is a woman specifically focused on women. And so I listened to her. She related to me more than others just because a lot of studies we're doing, it's focused on men. And so I like that all of her research is focused on women specifically.
Well, and she has so much practical experience because she's working with athletes, she's working with clients. And so I really like to hear what she has to say about things because I know how much she's actively involved with so many different people. She's just in the trenches with this stuff, so I like that for sure.
Yeah.
I think that as far as our take on this, right? We've done the research. We've kind of laid out a lot of the stuff. We try to put it in just everyday approachable. I like to make it very like layman's terms, right? And so I think our take on this is it's definitely a must try. We've started it, and Larissa, you can talk about your experience with creatine and the things we've learned along the way.
I got creatine and I got a good brand. So I made sure, and just really quickly, I want to put this in, that I was reading a study that 57% of the supplements on Amazon did not, like when they were third party tested, did not have the items in there that was listed on their labels. Because it's such a huge company, there's no way they can test. Like they must, the product lines that is in Amazon is crazy. So they just kind of are, they're the middleman kind of. And so that being said, brands matter. Go to the brand website to get your product so that you know for sure it's from a trusted source. Anyway,
and again, Supco third-party tests a lot of the stuff. So I saw even that they tested creatine gummies, and I think the article I read from Supco said that like 6 out of 10 of them didn't have the creatine that they claimed to have. So that is, I read exactly the same type of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So that's my little spiel on that. Like, be careful of what you get on Amazon as an avid Amazon user, and I love them, so don't get me wrong. But I was just like, oh, that's so scary, because when you're supplementing, you want the benefits, and if you can't trust it, then it's like, ah. But yeah, it was funny. So I got Thorne. I got my Thorne brand of creatine, monohydrate, yada, yada, yada. I did all of that. I've been taking it for a couple of weeks. And over the summer, actually I started at your house. And I was taking it, but I was teaching summer school and vacation. So I was going in and, I wasn't as consistent as I probably could have been. But then when school started up again, I have a stacked, and I was by routine to drink it every day on the way to work with my sparkling water with no food on an empty stomach.
Right.
And stuff. So I did that for weeks. And then I just started feeling nauseous, and I was nauseous every day for a week, and I was just subtly nauseous. So I wasn't Like I never threw up. I never had a fever. I never had the body aches. It was just subtly nauseous. And I was like, I do not know what's going on with me. And I was,
Yeah. You were tired too, right? And so I was like,
oh,
Larissa, like you took a pregnancy test, right?
yeah. And everybody I worked with, and I was like, there's no way, I'm way too old. There's no way. And and it was pretty funny. So I was like, but I was like having anxiety. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And when I was pregnant, I threw up every single day. That is just how I have pregnancy. When I'm
Yep.
pregnant, I threw up every single day. So it did definitely make my anxiety like escalate.
There was a little
Um,
panic moment while we were on the phone.
and then at work, everybody was also making that joke at work, and I was like, let's not talk about this. Like I can't even comprehend it at this point in time. So it was pretty funny. So that went a week and a weekend.
Yep.
Over the weekend, I felt nauseous, so nauseous that I didn't take anything. I didn't take my supplements. I didn't take anything.
Well, and it was at that point, right, that had listened to that Huberman Lab episode with Stacy
Monday
Sims.
morning. Yes. So
Yep.
on Monday morning, I was driving to work and was back in my retreat. So I had my carbonated water and I had my creatine in there and I was drinking it, talking to you on my way to work. And then
Yeah.
you told me that you listened to the Huberman Lab with Dr. Stacy Sims. It was a 2 hour, 45-minute podcast. It was so long. And you're like,
Yep.
I don't know where it said it in there, but there's a 2 minute section, a really small section where she talks about creatine. And there's two different types. And some people are sensitive to it and they get nauseous. And I was like, what? So, of course, I go to
Yep.
work that day. I immediately stopped drinking the creatine. And
Yep.
then I came home and I spent 2 hours and 48 minutes trying to find out like where it was in there. And but it was a good podcast. So I listened to it,
Yeah.
and but it was crazy. So she said that there's two different types of like way it's processed. So it's not necessarily
Yep.
they're all creatine, the monohydrate, but the way they're processed. So most of it is like
It's an
based
acid wash, right? Or
on
something like that.
yeah, but it's more of like, yes, that's what she said in the podcast, but it's more of like, it's just, there's more impurities in that one. Whereas
Mm.
if you go to this German company, I have it right here, and there's lots of different, they sell to lots of creatine companies that make it, but you have to look for this label. I don't know if you can see it, Creapure. So
Mm.
Creapure is a German brand, and they're very strict on their guidelines. They're very strict on their testing. They're very high watched. You know what I mean? Themselves, they monitor themselves high product by like a product. They have really good protocol and safety measures and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
they are Creapure, and so then they sell it to other companies that make their brand. So there's lots of brands, but if you actually go to Creapure on their website, they'll list all the brands that they sell their 99.9% pure creatine to.
Ah, yes.
So
We
anyway,
discovered this.
I was like, what? So then of course I stopped using my other stuff, which she said a lot of people wouldn't even phase them. So
Yeah,
it's only
a huge
small
portion
select.
of the population
Yeah.
don't get sick from it. Like it doesn't make them feel anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, great, welcome to the club. Like I'm that small percent. So then I got this. So I'm very excited that you randomly listened to that. And then I immediately stopped taking it. And then I felt better like the very next day.
Yeah.
I would just keep saturating my cells and stuff. And so anyway, it was
That's
really,
so funny.
really interesting. But it's slightly more expensive, but I mean you don't have to do the Creapure. It's only if you get nauseous. But then one of the hacks on that is to always eat it with food, which I wasn't doing either.
Right.
And they said to take 3 to 5 milligrams, and so
Grams.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, grams. Then if you wanted to split it in half, you could take 2 grams in the morning and 2 grams in the evening, so you can separate them so that it's easier on your stomach. So that's 2
Yeah.
takeaways I learned indirectly from feeling very nauseous and then having a heart attack thinking that I may be pregnant.
Yeah, we're gonna call that our flop of the month.
Yeah. That was our biohacking bust of the month. That like, wow, really? And I'm feeling like I've seen a trend. I feel like a lot of the busts are me. And when we're doing these biohacks.
Well, I mean, we could talk about the time that I flooded our freaking cold plunge in the basement. That was a bust.
Oh, that's true. All right, you have had a few. But I feel like if we are taking a tally on who's busting more on hacks, it might be me.
You may be in the lead, I'm not gonna lie.
I
But that
didn't
is our takeaway, right? There's a couple of things. You do have to be careful that it's not like start low, right?
start
Even
slow.
though, yeah,
Mhm.
because like there's a lot of talk about like a loading dose and then doing 3 to 5, and I don't think that we would recommend that. I think it would be start low, see how you respond to it. You may need to switch to this Pure labeled brand.
Yeah. Just go with a good brand because you don't want to
Yeah.
knock off it was like made in, like a third world country that they have no protocol to it. So just be
Yep.
careful where it comes from. But if you go on a trusted brand, like you'll most of the time, 99% of the time, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we
Unless,
really still just use Subco because a lot of times they're third party testing, or they'll let you know if they've been third party tested. And so that's because I do the same thing for methylene blue. I actually looked it up on there. And yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, start low and go from there. When I started, I think I started with just 2 grams a day because I just wasn't sure. The other thing that we noted is A, see how you're feeling, but B, you're going to want to make sure you drink enough water. So again, I'm going to plug it again, ladies. Hydration is key. It's the foundation of everything you do because the creatine wants to pull more water into your muscles and to your brain. You have to have enough in your system. If you're dehydrated, I don't think you're going to get much benefit out of this. So
well, you might just get
hydration,
headaches and cramps. Like you might just get other things of like dehydration type symptoms.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it's very true. But this one I'm excited about. So I'm actually going to get the same brand that you got, Larissa, and we're going to give it a try. And I think we'll probably follow up on some future episode about how we feel like that's going. And if
Yeah.
Larissa still feels like she's pregnant or
Oh my goodness. I love my stage of life. I do not want to be pregnant.
you did that already. You're done.
Yep. I love it. Best thing I ever did. I'm ready to move on.
Yep. Yep. You have teenagers. I get it.
I do.
So,
I know. I wonder what they would say. I don't even want to know. Let's go stop talking about it. Let's not even put any more energy down that.
stop talking about it.
But they do say that magnesium helps you absorb creatine. So make sure you're
Oh.
taking your magnesium and that you pair it with the exercise, like specifically weight training or
Mm-hmm.
resistance training, right? And obviously stay hydrated and then track your progress. Like, how do you feel? How is like, if you log your energy, your mood, your strength, and then do a before and after. So do it now, take creatine for 4 weeks and then do it again and see the difference. Because that's really what biohacking is all about is data based with your body. So like take the data, do the hack, and then see how you feel because then that will tell you if it's working for your body or not.
You know what I really want to do? Because I haven't been taking it for probably a couple weeks. And I just started today. So I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to take another picture in 6 weeks and see if you can see any benefit, right? I don't
You mean
know if 6 weeks would be, but I'm also going to be lifting weights. Like I'm going to lift weights and take creatine. I want to
to get
see
the
if there's a
max,
physical difference or not.
yeah, to get the max benefit out of the creatine.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to do it.
My fancy scale that I got, that says that like all different things about water, like it's crazy. It just breaks down whatever.
Yeah.
On there, it has lean muscle. So really,
Huh.
I need to go back. Well, because of this whole nauseousness, it threw me out of whack for 2 weeks. But what I really need to do is I need to start doing that and have it measure my lean muscle to see if that grows, see if that percentage goes up as I take it.
Yeah, that would be interesting because you've
Yeah.
been working out. So you could totally do that.
Well, not the last 2 weeks where I felt nauseous,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Life, man.
but yes, normally yes.
Yeah. Yep, yep. Okay, I think we also like to end things with some questions from the community, right?
hmm First question: will I gain weight by taking creatine?
The answer to this one is very possibly. But the thing to remember, because I think they say that it's pretty typical that a woman can gain 1 to 2 pounds of water weight because, again, it's pulling water into your muscles, but it's pulling water into your muscles. So you're not going to be puffy. It's not going to be like puffy weight gain. It's lean tissue weight gain. And so you're going to, if anything, it's going to look better. Your actual like muscly parts of you are going to be where you're carrying the weight. So that can happen.
All right. And question number 2. Should women who are not athletes take creatine?
You want to take that one?
Sure, I'll take this one. And the answer is back to what Dr. Stacy Sims said. She said, yes, like every woman could benefit from it. And even if you're not working out, you can still see a improvement, but it's just so much more minor. Whereas if you stack it with the weight training, you'll see a huge difference. And if you are an athlete, obviously, it's like you probably already know about it because you are an athlete and you're working on building your time or your resistance or whatever you're focusing on. So yes, you do not have to be an athlete. I am definitely not an athlete. I admire all women who are athletes, and so I'm still going to take it for the benefit of my own lean muscle and hydration of my brain.
Yeah, I would say I'm not an athlete. I am an exercise enthusiast, but it's, less consistent than an athlete. I aspire to be an athlete, okay? And either way, though, like I live in the Midwest, and so when it's tornado country, everybody has basements. So it means that if you have a second floor, you actually have 3 floors because you have the basement and then your main floor and your second floor. So anyway, the point I'm making about this story is that I live such an active life just taking care of kids in a 3-story house. And so I really feel like creatine can help me with, carrying laundry baskets and children and
I would agree with that because going up and down from your bottom floor all the way to your top floor, it's like a huge workout. It is
yeah,
so many steps.
it's so many stairs. And especially if you have to carry a 2-year-old up and down those stairs and, a dog for a walk. And we live at the bottom of a hill. So when we walk to the bus stop every day, it's a ridiculous hike. I'm not going to lie. If I was an athlete, that probably wouldn't be so hard. But
But if you took notes about how you felt at the beginning,
yes,
okay, and then you took creatine and then you did it again, then you can see like, oh, this used to be really hard for me. It was like a 7 on difficulty, and now it's a 4.
exactly. Creatine and squats. That's what I'm going to do. Just so I can do that stupid hill every day without getting to the bus stop winded.
I know it is one of my favorite things when I call you and you're like, hold on, because you can't talk until you get to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So then I just fill your ear with stuff while you're getting to the top.
And the sad thing is that I take our dog for a walk every day. So it's not like I never do the hill. Like it should be getting easier. And I really feel like creatine's gonna be my buddy on this one. So
Yeah. Well, it's going to be your battery pack, right? Where you put
yep,
on your battery pack, your extra battery pack. It's going to give you the extra boost to make it.
absolutely. Caffeine and creatine, man, they're my best buddies. So
Yeah. Well, specifically with creatine, caffeine, if you have more than 3 cups of coffee, it has counter effects on creatine. So
holy cow, three
yeah.
cups of coffee? That's so much caffeine.
Well, a lot of people like remember Dad used to do that. He used to drink like several cups of coffee. So
Really?
basically, yeah. So basically, minimize your coffee intake when you're taking creatine.
Right.
Creatine.
That's for a lot of things, though. I feel like excessive
Well,
caffeine inhibits a lot of things.
caffeine's not actually not your friend on a lot of things.
A little is, especially for working
As far
out.
as, as far as bioavailability.
Yeah. They have found like a cup of coffee like does enhance working out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's typically all I have is like a cup of coffee's worth of caffeine, whether it's via tea, coffee, or those amino energies that I love. But it's reasonable caffeine, right? So I digress. The next question is, does this help with longevity, specifically with dementia?
So they did talk about this, and it was like the studies they're still working on the studies. So it definitely helps with your brain and your memory and increasing memory. So they will
Hmm.
actually want to. That's the next phase. Is they want to marry that. They want to compare creatine with people who keep taking it and what their onset of Alzheimer's and dementia are in comparison. So it's linked, and so
Yeah.
they're working on doing the research to actually formally link it.
And
But
it's very promising, right, so far. And they think that, I mean, from what I've heard, they really do think that it's going to have a memory protection, properties and things like that. So I'll be curious to see how those studies come out in the coming years. Okay, I think we have one more Q&A question, right?
Oh, yes. So this is from one of my friends. She's going to know who she is. She said, what is biohacking? What is the definition of biohacking? And we talked about on our very first episode, but I think it's an important thing to address because that's what we're all about. This is what this whole show is about, is really like trying to understand our body and how to improve it. And so the definition that the official definition is biohacking refers to the practice of using science, technology, and lifestyle interventions to optimize one's physical and mental performance, health, and well-being. It involves making intentional, often small and data-driven changes to diet, exercise, sleep, supplements, or environment to enhance biological functions, improve energy, cognition, or longevity, and achieve specific health goals such as weight loss or improved fitness. And I feel like that summarizes what it is. And so that's why every week we talk about a biohack, because in some way this might connect with you in something that you're struggling with and that you want to navigate your own body, like know your body, own your health. And so tweak it until it works for you. Because getting older and going into our longevity years, like it doesn't always have to be a negative thing or like where things start to decay and this and that. We can live a much healthier lifestyle all the way until the end.
That's true. And I really feel like when we first started talking about biohacking, it's funny because I had never really thought the things that we were passionately talking about and doing would be qualified as biohacking. I was like, I don't know, it's just general health stuff. But I think it's because the term biohacking has been such a male dominated subject, first of all. And I also think that it's an intimidating term, where you're like, well, I don't know, that's like, that seems really intense, but it's like, it's little things, it's little changes that you do to optimize your health. And so it's why I love talking about it and revisiting that, because that is really why we're doing this podcast, is because so many of us, I mean, how many of us go on, out for a girls' night and you find yourself talking about things that help you sleep, or a new supplement you found that just, gives you more energy in the morning or whatever. And then the next day you're texting me like, hey, can you send me the name of that, the thing that you take or whatever? Like, we all do that. And so it's really great to create a place to just geek out about it and focus on actually using them in a consistent way where we feel it is making our life better and that we feel better, and we can make our families feel better too and healthier.
Yeah. Together. So we feel better together, but it is all science based. And that's where it's interesting. Some of the biohacks that we look into are like, I don't know about that one, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
But until you do the research, you don't ever really know. But there's a lot out there, and it's interesting how you can tweak slightly. But that's also when it goes back to functional health and wellness and waste of wells and all these things. Is your doctors, the typical HMO or PPO, they just get to get your physical, and they may do some minor blood work depending on what phase you're in life or what you're complaining about to them, but they don't give an overall picture. They don't do your overall things. And so there's so much more to know about and understand about your body if you can see the big picture, which is where functional health and ways the wells come in, and they really just do, they screen you for all sorts of things. And so then you can really target your interventions specifically on what you need and not what the doctor happens to have tested for that year. And then you wait a whole year again to get the next round of tests. So this is much more taking your personal data and doing interventions on it, changing and tweaking your diet, your exercise, your supplements, whatever is needed to fulfill that. And it helps you feel better in the long run.
Well, and it takes your goals into account too, right? Like, it's bringing you as the patient into the conversation instead of there just being a doctor with a clipboard who decides what needs to be ordered on you and then may decide on an intervention for you if they feel like you need it. But you're not really, I feel like with the doctor, I was never really part of the conversation at my general practice, right? It was just, which makes sense. They're there for sick people. They're there to treat problems. Whereas I feel like the way that things are moving that I love is that this type of lab work that you can order on your own, right, and have, ways to have a doctor visit with you, is you have goals in mind and you want optimal health. It's not just treating symptoms. There are probably symptoms too, but you at least get to be part of the conversation, which is awesome.
And it usually lasts longer than 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's very true. Mine's tomorrow. My follow-up is tomorrow, and I'm super excited because it's an actual conversation where you can talk about things and ask questions and get good feedback. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's empowering you to make the best choices for your life right now.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good place to end it. So
Yeah, it is.
I think we'll catch you guys next time. All right, you wellness rock stars. That's a wrap on this episode of My Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. We've had a blast dishing out the hacks and laughs, but hold up, let's keep it real.
Yep, we are not doctors. We are just sharing our biohacking adventures and learning right alongside you. Nothing we say is medical advice, so always, always check with your healthcare provider before trying any new wellness tricks.
Absolutely. This podcast is all about inspiration and entertainment, not prescriptions. So join our Facebook group for more sassy wellness vibes. Catch you next time.